Ready? Good afternoon, everyone. This is Marilyn Edge. I'm the Acting Director of the Office of Asset Management and Portfolio Oversight. And a lot of you I know and some of you I don't. So I'd like to say welcome to our first all-hands meeting for 2017. And we will be following the agenda. To my left, I have Carrie Hickman, who's the Director of Business Relationships and Support Contract Division, who will be giving an update. And to my right, I have Sarah Ritchie, who is a Field Asset Management Division Director, Branch Chief, and she will be talking about tenant protection vouchers. And we also have Rick Doherty, who's a Branch Chief in the Northeast region, who will be giving us an overview and a slide presentation of the PACE program. And so on that note, I think we'll go ahead and get started. I have a few things that I'd like to bring to your attention. And of course, if you have any questions during this time, you can always email Tiffany J. Birdsong at HUD.gov. And of course, you can always send us an email or give us a call during our regular working hours. So the first thing I'd like to talk a little bit about is the HUD held servicing contract. As most of you may know, the contract has been put out for bid and a new contractor has been selected. However, we do have a protest that is currently under review. And the current contract expires on April 7th. And so right now, the current contractor is going through the transition out plan. I don't have much more than that to share other than there has been some services that are no longer being done, but we are working hard to try to find a way to get those services started again. So as we find out information, we will be keeping you up to date. I am going to ask for your assistance. We are beginning to get a lot of audit reports that have not been resolved. And some of the information we can do here in headquarters, but there may be questions on some of the audit reports that we need to contact you in the field. So I'm not saying that we will be contacting you on a regular basis, but there may be some things connected with those audit reports that we do need field input on. So if you have any questions, if you're contacted, you can always contact me, or you can contact the point of contact who you will be provided that information with. I sent a message out to all of the regional center directors requesting topics for our planned June 20th and 21st asset management planning meeting, which right now is scheduled to be in Denver. I've received some topics for discussion. So for those of you that have not responded to me, if there are topics that you would like for asset management to address, please make sure you get those to me so that we can go ahead and start planning the agenda and getting the necessary people in place to do the presentations. Over the past few weeks or so, we have posted some new policies or some new procedures. And I'll talk a little bit about about a few of the things. Due to an OIG audit that was issued back in October of 2016, this was regarding the partial payment of claims. And so Walter Wynn, who is our point of contact and the person that processes the partial payment of claims, put together some procedures for monitoring the PPC's use agreement. That policy was just recently posted, and if you have any questions after you review the policy, please make sure that you contact Walter, and he will be more than happy to respond to your question. What the audit did, it revealed that we were not in compliance with reviewing the use agreement restrictions for the affordable set-aside units. And in order to mitigate this, we had to come up with some written procedures. and implement those procedures in the field. And those procedures are effective today, March 15th. So again, if you have any questions related to those procedures, please reach out to Walter. He'll be more than happy to accommodate you. Another policy or some information that I'd like to share is regarding the Section 8 funds recapture methodology. And on or about March 1st, we posted a new Q&A on the OAMPO policy forum SharePoint site that clarifies the funding operations branch recapture methodology for Section 8 funds. And I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it and, go into a lot of detail. But what I will say is that this will have an impact on projects involved with Section 8BB transfers. And with the new methodology, all 8BB transfers must be completed within 2 years of expiration of Contract A. And then there are just some other items that's contained in the Q&As that will be affected with the 8BB process. And if you have any questions, you can always contact Lori Farrell in the Funding Operations Branch, Lori A. Farrell at HUD.gov, or you can give her a call. She is in the HUD directory. And I'd also like to share some information from Yvette Viviani on RAD properties that are eligible for OCAFs. And so Yvette wanted me to share with you that RAD properties are eligible for OCAF only, rent adjustments annually at the contract anniversary date. The owner will need to submit the OCAF worksheets to the account executives 120 days prior to the anniversary date. And if the property has utility allowances, the owner must complete a full utility analysis in accordance with Housing Notice 1504. And this needs to be submitted along with the OCAF worksheet. And that's from the owner to the account executive for validation. And also, once the account executive has received all of the required documentation from the owner, they will process the rent adjustments in IREMS as a rent adjustment. And it's not to be processed as amend rent under any renewal options. The RAD properties are not eligible for auto OCAF adjustments that are contained in those options. The amend rent options will trigger other requirements that RAD properties are not subject to, such as a rent comparability study, budget-based adjustments, fifth-year adjustments, and so on. So you must, so these rents must be entered as rent adjustments as you would have with any other pre-MARA contracts. There is no waiver for not submitting a utility analysis, so the OCAF will need to wait until one is submitted by the owner. And you can also review the RAD Quick Reference Guide for further information related to that. And my last item is just want to make you aware that headquarters will be doing some financial statement analysis training. And our first training will be done in the Southeast region. Our first session is April the 24th through the 25th, and that will be in Atlanta. And the second session on April 26th and 27th, that will be done in the Jacksonville office. And Brian Murray in our office has been very active, as well as Tiffany Birdsong, in working to put together this financial statement training. And we do plan to conduct the training in the other regions, so be on the lookout for some discussions with Brian and with Tiffany on setting up the training for your areas. And are there any questions? I know I went through it pretty fast, but if you have any questions, as I said, you can email those to Tiffany J. Birdsong at HUD.gov. Okay. And at this time, while you're considering your questions, I'm going to turn it over to Carrie Hickman, who will give you an update on business relationships and support contracts.
Thank you, Marilyn, and good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Carrie. For those, many of you that I have not met before, I will be making some field visits associated with some of the training, and especially the training that Marilyn just mentioned, but also another key training that in support of OFSO, we were asked to a certain degree, do a reset button, and that is on the laserfish training. So Carol Schrader, who has been our SME and main point of contact for laserfish for the last few years now, since transformation, and she's done a superb job in doing so. She's actually, she gave me a list today. She has been working with an individual in the Fort Worth office, Mr. Michael Gomez. So thank you, Michael, for assisting us with locking down the dates throughout the regions. So I have a list of about 10 places so far, and there were a few that I was surprised I didn't see on the list. So if what I'm talking about in regards to laserfish training and having Carol Schrader come out to your area is kind of Greek to you, please reach out to your leadership and or to Michael Gomez, who is coordinating with Carol regarding available dates and times for us to come out to do the training. So also, Carol wanted me to mention that there's been some new improvements to the laserfish protocols and what we do. And so we are still evolving to more and better platforms of operation. So she wanted me to mention that, and that it will be demonstrated when she does the basic training at each of the locations. A few of the locations I will travel with her. I know I'm coming to the San Francisco area. I haven't been out west as of yet. So I'm looking forward to seeing many of you as I've traveled in the past as the director for Field Asset Management, now as the director for business relations and support contracts. And so it's exciting for me. I'm in a different arena now, a little quieter. Not that I don't miss my family from Field Asset Management. Please don't send me emails, all right? But I do know this, that we are having a significant shift in making sure that, as I mentioned in the Field Asset Management arena, that the field is our number one contract, or rather our number one customer. And we are doing everything we can do from the business relations side of the house when it comes to 2530, as well as, in this case, support contracts for laserfish to make sure you all are well supplied with everything you need. That includes training. So those dates, for those who are already aware, you already know those dates. We'll be seeing you soon. For those of you who are, once again, don't really know what I'm talking about yet, please ask, and we'll make sure we get it on schedule before summer comes, so all of our travel and all the training that we're talking about is done properly for everyone. So appreciate your efforts and the support in doing so. We look forward to your hospitality. I won't be in Atlanta, so I won't get the chance to go to Big Daddy's, so I will miss that. But I will tell you that we have a grand opportunity here. OFSO and Joe DuBose, Director Joe DuBose, Acting Director Joe DuBose has made this available. So we're here to support you all by means of doing so. So thank you again. Marilyn?
Thank you. Sarah?
I'm here today to talk to you about the internal processing for Housing Conversion Action Act. So on February 9th, we issued a joint memorandum with the Office of Public and Indian Housing on the steps for requesting housing protection vouchers. The memorandum updates the internal process for requesting tenant protection vouchers, and it includes both enhanced vouchers and regular housing choice vouchers. It also, on the enhanced vouchers that are provided as a result of a housing conversion action. And the housing conversion actions include the owner decisions to opt out, owner prepayment of the mortgage, or voluntary termination of insurance on eligible low-income housing, HUD property disposition activities, the expiration of the rent subcontracts or the rental assistance payments contracts, preservations transactions under Section 201P of the Housing Community Development Amendment of 1978, and other situations where housing and PIH have, under the Annual Appropriations Act, determined to provide tenant protection vouchers and chooses to do so in accordance with the current act. The process for requesting vouchers is set out in PIH Notice 2001-41, which provides a comprehensive guidance for requesting housing conversion actions. Given the age of this notice, certain program and funding requirements have been updated through subsequent guidance, such as the annual funding implementation notice that was issued by PIH on housing choice vouchers. PIH is in the process of updating Notice 2001-41, but until the new notice is issued, everyone should use the notice in conjunction with the annual funding notice, any subsequently issued guidance, and including the February 9th memorandum. The processes established in Notice 2001-41 are largely unchanged by the memorandum, which primarily just restates the process in a more streamlined fashion and serves as a reminder and a quick reference guide. The changes made by the housing conversion process by this memorandum only involved internal processes within HUD and do not change a public housing authority's requirements related to funding process. The primary changes involve added reviews by the Office of Multifamily Housing and the Office of General Counsel. For housing conversion actions under the Component 2 of the Rental Demonstration Program, RAD Notice 2012-32 Revision 3 should be followed, with the exception that there is a new housing conversion worksheet that was included in the February 9th memorandum for those transactions. The memorandum does not address internal processing procedures for HUD enforcement actions against an owner, including the termination of the or non-renewal of a housing Section 8 project-based housing assistance payments contract or property disposition sales. These actions will be addressed through separate guidance. Communication between HUD's Offices of Housing, PIH, the Housing Voucher Financial Management Division, and the Housing Voucher Financial Management Center, as well as the owner and the Public Housing Authority, is critical to housing conversion actions. Ideally, the funding process should begin 120 days prior to the target date of the housing conversion action. Funding process is intended to result in providing a voucher within 60 days prior to the target date. However, there are many circumstances that do not allow this to be possible. So it is imperative that housing notify PIH immediately if there's any change in the circumstances that will affect the target date of the housing conversion action. If the conversion action is deferred, housing must communicate the deferral to PIH so that the effective date of the annual contributions contract amendment can be adjusted by the Financial Management Center. Only in very limited and rare instances will PIH be able to process voucher requests that are started with fewer than 120 days before the target date. In those cases, approval by senior leadership in both housing and PIH must be obtained before any expedited processing will begin on tenant protection vouchers. Attached to the memo are new housing conversion action worksheets that must be used in submitting your request. And note that if you have a separate housing conversion worksheet must be provided if you have two transactions. For instance, if you have an owner that is prepaying the mortgage and is opting out of a project-based contract, you have to have two housing conversion actions for worksheets for each action. So you'll have one for the prepayment and one for the opt-out. I've highlighted mainly the differences from the new processing based on what was submitted in the memorandum on February 9th. And if you have any questions in regards to this memorandum or any questions regarding tenant protection vouchers as it relates to Section 8BB, you are welcome to contact me directly. Thank you.
Have there been any questions to come in while we were presenting? Okay. Okay, at this time, I'll turn it over to Rick Doherty to provide a presentation on PACE. Rick?
Great. Thank you, Marilyn, and good afternoon, everybody. So I'm going to start off with an overview of the PACE initiative itself, and then I'll highlight some of the key points of a recent housing notice that describes how to layer PACE into our projects. And I'll finish by outlining some plans for bringing PACE resources out to the field. The slide presentation should be up. There we go. There we go. So to start with, for those of you not familiar with it, what is PACE? PACE is just an acronym. It stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy, right there at the top of the slide. The basic PACE concept involves a partnership between state and local government and private capital sources that allows property owners to finance the complete upfront cost of energy efficient improvements. Those costs can then be amortized over the average useful life of the measures. Those terms typically can go up to 20 years. When the payments on the loan are complete, the property enjoys the full benefit of the energy efficiency, the reduced energy costs. It's called property assessed because the financing is secured or attached to the property in the form of a special assessment lien, which is very similar to the legal construct of real estate taxes. PACE is a national initiative, but requires each participating state to pass its own enabling legislation. So far, 33 states and Washington, D.C. have passed this legislation. Once that's passed and the PACE program then is developed within the state, municipalities are free to participate. And municipal participation is critical to the program because property assessed, again, means that the loan payments are made as a component of the semi-annual real estate taxes issued either by the county or by the city. So the basic model is that the PACE loan payments are billed with the taxes, the payments are paid with the taxes, and the loans are treated as special assessments, which is the critical aspect that makes them compatible with our FHA platforms because the special assessments are not considered senior debt. So we issued Housing Notice 2017-01 in January, and in it we laid out the criteria for the review and approval of the various PACE programs and for the individual PACE transactions. Next slide, please. So I was afraid this map wouldn't come out very well, and it is kind of hard to see, but it depicts the status of the PACE programs in all the 50 states and DC. You can look this up on pacenation.us. It's an interactive map, and you can easily check the status for your locality. So I said earlier, 33 states have passed the enabling legislation. Some of them are still developing their programs, and at last count, there were 19 states with fully active programs. Several states have multiple active programs. California, for example, has 12 active PACE programs up and running. And I should also note that there is a distinction between residential PACE, which is sometimes abbreviated as RPACE, and commercial PACE, which is abbreviated CPACE. Multifamily properties all fall within the commercial aspect or the CPACE programs. Next slide, please. So that's sort of the overview of PACE itself. Now let's talk about HUD's role here. Again, I'd refer you to Notice 2017-01 for the details. I'm going to stick to just picking up some of the key points from the notice. So first, the scope of the notice. That list is on the very first page. It's effectively covering all insured or subsidized projects that we work with on a regular basis. They're all eligible to participate in PACE financing, which can be layered into an existing project or brought in alongside a new FHA application. The chief limitation is going to be whether the property is located in a state that has an active program. I should note that insured healthcare was not part of the scope of this notice and is not covered. Next slide, please. So the PACE program is designed to stimulate investment in all feasible forms of energy efficiency, and that would include water conservation measures and renewable energy systems as well. The controlling factor is the underwriting. The energy savings, or the renewable energy output, has to be measurable and then monetized for underwriting. Basically, if the measure provides payback over its useful life or generates a savings to investment ratio, or SIR, of 1.0 or better, it's potentially eligible for inclusion in a PACE loan. HUD allows underwriting of up to 75% of the calculated savings for allocation to a PACE loan, and that can be exceeded if the project couples the financing with appropriately sized escrows. Next slide. Thank you. So our owners can't enter into a PACE assessment, a PACE agreement without prior written approval from HUD. So how do we approve these transactions? The notice outlines two distinct phases for approval. Section 4 of the notice covers the first phase, which is an administrative process. This is we call it the program assessment approval. In this case, the program administrator, the PACE administrator, or an owner applies to the respective regional director for approval of the PACE program itself. There are 5 specific criteria to be evaluated as part of this program assessment review. We need to ensure that the operational aspects of the PACE program meet our threshold requirements, as listed in the notice. If approved, the regional director would issue an approval letter, and that process only has to happen once to qualify a specific PACE program to then submit project-specific transactions. Next slide. Phase 2 would be the project-specific proposals. That's covered under sections 5 and 6 in the notice. If this is coupled with an FHA application, the lender has to do most of the heavy lifting. They'll evaluate and present the PACE transaction as part of their overall loan application, and they have to demonstrate compliance with the underwriting and documentation criteria in the notice. Those will be submitted through the typical development pipelines. For existing projects, the transaction will be submitted to the account executive. The notice, and this is an important point, the notice gives regional directors full authority for approval of both phases, both the PACE program assessment and the PACE transactions. Any exceptions to the specifics in the notice will be treated effectively like waiver requests and would be submitted to the OAMPO Director's Office for consideration. Next slide. Thank you. So there are some ongoing requirements. Most notable here is that the projects participating in a PACE transaction are going to be required to benchmark their properties with EPA's portfolio manager. There may be other reporting requirements that come up as the program develops. And so that really covers the highlights of the program and the notice. So what's next? Next slide. First off, this is something Bob asked me to cover. At the end of the notice, the contact point is listed as Bob Iber. Please substitute my name and my contact information, which is on the screen there. If you have printed your copy of the notice, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to me or direct any outside inquiries to me as well. Next up, we've asked each regional director for a primary point of contact. So I'll be the POC for the Northeast. And I want to thank the regional directors who have already responded to this request. I think we're waiting for just one more nominee. The idea is for the regional POCs to collaborate over the next several weeks, develop in-depth program knowledge and become subject matter experts on PACE assessment and PACE transaction reviews. We'll then serve as regional resources in that capacity. And each regional director then will determine how best to deploy that resource within their own region. The initial idea was that the POC might be involved in each transaction or each program assessment request. Or depending on volume, it might make better sense to have the POC train other staff to perform those evaluations themselves. Entirely up to the regional director how they want to implement it. We're also building a PACE-specific page in the OAMPO SharePoint site that will house PACE resources, the housing notice, a growing list of Q&As, and will also capture a library of the PACE programs that have been approved by the regional offices across the country. Those pages are being developed as we speak. And so, in a nutshell, that's it. This implementation is really just beginning. I think we have a pretty good outline in place to move this forward rapidly. And one thing we can't predict at this point is the actual volume of transactions or what kind of a demand would be placed on us. I think this approach creates the needed flexibility and resources, however it shakes out. And I'm looking forward to working with the other regional POCs in the next several weeks. That's really all I have today. Marilyn, do we have time to take some questions?
Sure. Thanks, Rick. I do understand that there are some questions, so
Hello.
we're ready.
Hi, Marilyn. We got a couple of questions in over email, and the
Okay.
first question is related to the financial statement analysis training.
Yes.
I need to take this time to clarify the training dates and location.
Okay.
Session 1 of our pilot session for this training will be in Atlanta, April 24th and 25th. Session 2 will also be in Atlanta, April 26th and April 27th. For now, this training is only going to take place in Atlanta. Jacksonville will be next up, but we do not have those dates confirmed as of yet. Our second question was related to meeting notes from this broadcast. Everyone, please be on the lookout for a full transcript of today's broadcast. If you have follow-up questions, please continue to direct them to me, and I will navigate to the correct point of contact. That's about it. Back to you, Marilyn.
Thanks, Tiffany, for that clarification. As Tiffany said, there will be a transcript available from today's broadcast. Now's your last chance for questions. Okay, hearing none. Thank you, everyone. We'll talk to you again next month. Bye.